video. And now I'm the one being threatened. By who? Bianca pulled out her phone. Showed her messages. Anonymous, we know what you did. And soon, the world will too. Margaret's hand paused mid-sip. Someone was watching them. Someone who wanted everything exposed. And in the shadows of the truth, a bigger scandal was waiting to explode. The threats kept coming. Bianca hadn't slept. Her hands shook as she opened her phone again and again, reading the same message over and over. You can confess now. Or we'll do it for you. You've got 72 hours. Margaret dismissed it at first. She had survived bigger scandals. She had buried secrets deeper than oceans. But something about this felt different. And she hated it. Across the city, Amelia sat with Adrian on the rooftop of his penthouse. The skyline twinkled behind them, and the wind whispered through their silence. But inside her, a war was still raging. I don't want to hide, Amelia finally said. Adrian turned to her. But I don't want to be a headline either. I don't want my father's sins to define my name forever. They won't, he replied. Because you redefine it yourself. How? With truth. She hesitated. You want me to speak publicly. I want you to own your story before someone else does. Her chest rose and fell slowly. I don't know if I'm strong enough. You are, he said, reaching for her hand. You always have been. 2 days later, Amelia sat in a small TV studio. Lights. Cameras. A live audience. She had been invited by The Heart of the Matter, a popular show that features stories of survival, grace, and real-life redemption. The host, a warm middle-aged woman named Angela, greeted her with kindness and care. Thank you for being here, Amelia. I know this wasn't easy. Amelia took a shaky breath and smiled gently. I think it's time. The audience leaned in. Angela asked the question softly at first. About her childhood. Her family. The shame. And then, about her father. Yes, Amelia said. My father was arrested when I was 13. He was scamming people online. Women, mostly. Promising marriage, love, and taking their savings. A hush fell over the crowd. I hated him for it. But more than that, I hated myself. Because I was the one who told my mom what he was doing. He found out. He hit me. And then he left. Angela reached for her hand. You were just a child. Amelia nodded. But I carried it like I was the criminal. A few people in the audience wiped their eyes. And then I met Adrian, she continued. And for the first time, someone saw me outside of the shadow of my past. He didn't love me in spite of it, he loved me because I survived it. A loud clap erupted from the corner. Then another. Soon the entire room was applauding. And just like that, Amelia took back her story. That night, the interview trended at #1. Hashtag Amelia George. Hashtag healing not hiding. Hashtag she told her truth. Adrian received dozens of calls from business leaders, politicians, even a few of the investors who had once threatened to pull out. One text read, you didn't just choose a woman. You chose grace. But in Margaret's mansion, chaos erupted. Bianca showed up again, this time with a flash drive. I didn't send the threats, she said, throwing the drive on the table. But I'm done lying. Margaret narrowed her eyes. What's that? Everything. The fake pregnancy. The edited voice notes. The transactions. Even your lawyer's involvement. Margaret's hand froze in the air. You recorded me. Bianca gave a bitter laugh. You told me once, never do that without covering your own shoes. Well, I learned from the best. Why now? Because someone else knows. Who? Bianca hesitated. Then said one name that made Margaret's wine glass slip from her fingers and crash to the floor. Thomas. She went pale. Her ex-husband. Adrian's estranged father. The man she had spent years pushing out of the company, out of Adrian's life, and out of the country. He had returned. And he had proof of everything. Across the city, Adrian got a message from an unknown number. Meet me alone. Rooftop. Silver Bridge Hotel. 9 p.m. Come if you want the truth. He debated for hours. Emilia begged him not to go alone. But Adrian was tired of secrets. He showed up at the rooftop, dark, quiet, cold. And there, standing by the ledge, was Thomas Carson. Older. Grayer. But still sharp-eyed. Still tall. Still dangerous. I heard you've been busy, he said without turning around. What do you want? Adrian asked. To tell you what your mother did, before someone else beats me to it. Adrian stayed quiet. Thomas turned slowly, and in his hand was a folder. Your mother didn't just bribe that woman to fake a pregnancy. She also paid off the lead investigator in Amelia's father's fraud case to keep his story quiet. She didn't want anyone digging deeper because if they had, he handed Adrian the file. They'd have found her name on some of the money transfers. Adrian opened it. Inside were transaction records. Dates. Amounts. Fake accounts linked back to a name, M. Carson. His blood ran cold. She helped him. Adrian whispered. No, Thomas said. She started it. Amelia's father was a puppet. He did the work. She kept the profits. And when he got sloppy, she threw him to the wolves. Adrian gripped the edge of the folder. His mother hadn't just tried to destroy Amelia. She had destroyed her family to protect her empire. He stepped back, shaking. I'm sorry, Thomas said quietly. But you deserve to know who you've been defending all your life. As Adrian drove home that night, tears burned in his eyes. He didn't cry often. But this time, he let them fall. Because now, the battle wasn't between his heart and his reputation. It was between truth and blood. And either way, someone would be destroyed. Adrian didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window of his penthouse, the city lights flickering beneath him, but none of them bright enough to burn away the truth he now carried. His mother, his fierce, untouchable, untouching mother, had built her empire not just with ambition, but with betrayal. She hadn't just hated Amelia. She had helped ruin her life long before either of them met. By morning, the anger had cooled into something sharper, purpose. He dressed in silence. No tie. No suit. Just a simple black shirt and dark jeans. He didn't call his lawyer. He didn't call the board. He called Amelia. She answered on the first ring. Come to the Carson estate, he said softly. I want you there when I speak to her. She hesitated. Adrian, she destroyed your life. And she's going to look you in the eye today. An hour later, they stood in the Carson family mansion. Marble floors, glass staircases, endless portraits of serious men in stiff suits. But it all felt empty now. Margaret walked in, calm as ever, in a pearl-colored robe and her usual silk scarf. So, she said flatly. You've come to stage another rebellion. No, Adrian replied. I've come to give you a chance to come clean. Margaret chuckled. Come clean? About what? Adrian pulled out the folder Thomas had given him and dropped it on the glass table. You bribed Amelia's father to run your offshore scams. Then you made him the fall guy when the heat got close. You had evidence destroyed. You paid off a police investigator to disappear files. And when Amelia unknowingly got in your son's heart, you tried to erase her too. Margaret blinked. Just once. Then smacked. And who gave you this fantasy? Your father. The man who ran away from this family when it got hard. He didn't run, Adrian said. You drove him out. You're right, Margaret replied coolly. Because he was weak. She looked at Amelia, her gaze sharp and unblinking. And so are you. You think telling your little sub-story on TV makes you powerful. You'll always be that same girl hiding in the corner, praying for someone to rescue you. I'm not hiding anymore, Amelia said. No, Margaret said with a fake smile. You're stealing. I'm healing. You're ruining him. Adrian stepped between them. No. You already did that, years ago. Margaret's face dropped for the first time. I defended you for everything, Adrian said, voice low, trembling. I turned away when you destroyed lives. I made excuses when you sabotaged competitors. I said, she's just protecting the family. But you weren't protecting the family. You were protecting your power. You don't understand. I understand enough now, Adrian said. And I'm done covering for you. A long, heavy silence. Then, what will you do? Margaret whispered. Adrian stared her down. I'm stepping down. Amelia's eyes widened. Adrian. I've submitted my official resignation to the board. I'm going to testify to the authorities with what I know. And I'm going to rebuild my life from the ground up, but this time, with someone who knows what pain feels like and still chooses love. Margaret's breath caught. Her lips parted slightly. I loved you, she whispered. No, Adrian said. You loved control. He took Amelia's hand and turned to leave. But before they reached the door, Margaret's voice stopped them. If you walk out that door, you're no longer my son. Adrian turned slowly. I never was, he replied. Not in the way that mattered. They left. And for the first time in her life, Margaret Carson was left in silence. Later that evening, Amelia received an unexpected call from a popular news anchor. He had just watched her full interview replayed on national TV and wanted to invite her for a panel discussion on resilience, healing, and the abuse of power. She declined at first. But Adrian encouraged her. You're not just my story anymore, he said. You're a voice for so many others. She agreed. The next day, dressed in a simple emerald blouse and soft curls pinned back, Amelia walked onto the studio stage with her head held high. The crowd applauded before she said a word. The panel began, and people leaned into her story again, not for gossip, but for hope. And then something happened that shook everyone. Kelvin, Amelia's brother, stood up in the audience. He held a mic. I used to be ashamed of being related to Amelia, he said. Because I didn't understand how someone could give so much and still be so calm. I thought she was weak. But I was wrong. She's the strongest woman I've ever seen. And today, I'm proud to be her brother. The room erupted in applause. Amelia cried softly on stage. But it didn't end there. As she walked backstage, an older woman grabbed her hand. I'm one of the women your father scammed years ago, she said, her voice shaky. But after watching you speak, I forgive him. And I forgive you. Thank you for being brave. Amelia held the woman tight and whispered, I'm so sorry. Behind the curtain, Adrian waited. When she reached him, he opened his arms, and she collapsed into them. I thought I'd lost everything, she whispered. You only lost what you were never meant to carry, he replied. And just when it felt like they could finally breathe, Adrian's phone rang. It was his lawyer. Adrian, he said. You need to see this. It's about your mother. And it's bad. Adrian's lawyer didn't mince words. She's being investigated for international wire fraud, corporate theft, and obstruction of justice, he said. Interpol flagged an account connected to Kasem Group operations in Mauritius. The paper trail goes back more than a decade, all signed in your mother's name. Adrian sat motionless in his living room, Amelia beside him, her fingers tightly interlocked with his. How long do we have before this goes public? Adrian asked. It already is. Within minutes, the major networks picked up the story. Former Kasem Group CEO Margaret Kasem named in billion-dollar international fraud case. Authorities seize assets linked to Margaret Kasem in UK, Dubai, and South Africa. Mother of ex-CEO accused of laundering funds through shell companies. Adrian exhaled slowly. They are going to link me. The lawyer shook his head. You've already resigned. You're clean, Adrian. But they may need your statement. I'll give it. Amelia placed her hand on his chest. Are you sure? He nodded. She made her choices. I'll make mine. But even as the legal whirlwind built around them, Adrian was planning something entirely different. Something personal. Something he had dreamed about since the day Amelia walked into his office with that too big blouse and quiet fire in her eyes. He had the ring. He had the words. He just needed the right moment. 3 days later, in a small garden behind the local children's center Amelia volunteered at, Adrian stood with a velvet box in his pocket. It wasn't grand. No cameras. No audience. Just her. She was laughing, chasing 2 little boys with crayons in their hands, barefoot on the grass, her cheeks flushed from joy. When she saw him standing there, her laughter faded into a warm smile. You're staring again, she teased. I can't help it, he said. She walked toward him, brushing dirt from her palms. Why are you dressed like that? She asked, eyeing his crisp white shirt. I wanted to look like the man I feel like around you. She blushed slightly. Oh. He took her hand gently. You've been through war, Amelia. You've been betrayed, humiliated, dragged through fire. And you still show up. Still smile. Still care. She lowered her gaze. He lifted her chin. I don't want to wait anymore. I don't care if the world is still healing, or the headlines haven't moved on. I just want to start the rest of my life with you. He dropped to one knee. Her hands flew to her mouth. He opened the box. A simple gold ring, no diamonds, no frills, just a delicate engraving inside. Still, I choose you. Marry me. Tears poured down Amelia's cheeks. She knelt in front of him too. I was waiting for you to ask, she whispered. Their foreheads touched. Laughter. Crying. Joy. And then, boom. A loud, crashing sound exploded nearby. Followed by screaming. Adrian stood up instantly. Amelia turned in horror. One of the children had collapsed. The youngest, 7-year-old Tolu. Amelia ran to him. His tiny chest barely moved. His eyes were fluttering. He was having a seizure. Adrian immediately called an ambulance while Amelia tried to stabilize him. Minutes felt like hours. When the ambulance arrived, they both rode along, refusing to let go of the boy's hand. At the hospital, the doctor approached them gravely. He's going to live, he said. But he has a heart condition. He needs surgery, soon. And it's not cheap. Adrian didn't hesitate. Whatever it cost. I'll pay. The doctor nodded, stunned. But that night, the moment that was meant to be about their future, became a night about survival again. Amelia sat by the hospital bed, watching Tolu sleep. Adrian sat on the window ledge, silent. Then he said quietly, "That's why I love you." She looked at him. You didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. Neither did you, she thought. But their moment was once again interrupted. His phone buzzed. This time, from an unknown number. The message was short. I have everything. The files. The voice notes. The offshore account links. Let's finish her. Attached was a name. Unknown source, the vault. Another message followed. Meet me alone. No police. Tomorrow. Noon. The old Carson estate. Adrian's face darkened. He knew what that meant. Someone from within the empire was ready to bring Margaret Carson down completely. But the cost? It could be everything. Adrian couldn't sleep. He lay beside Amelia in the hospital room where little Tolu was still unconscious, 4 lines in his tiny arms, heart monitor blinking steady. Amelia had drifted off, her hand resting on the boy's leg protectively. Even in sleep, she guarded. Adrian stared at the message again. Meet me alone. No police. Tomorrow. Noon. The old Carson estate. He hadn't been to that place in years. Not since his father packed up and left after a brutal argument with Margaret. It was abandoned now. Dusty, rotten, forgotten, like every good thing Margaret discarded when it no longer served her. By 11:30 a.m., Adrian was parked outside the rusted gates. The wind carried dead leaves across the cracked concrete. He walked slowly up the broken steps, the same steps he used to run up as a boy, chasing echoes of a family that never truly existed. The front door creaked open with a loud groan. Inside, shadows filled every corner. The air was thick with dust and memory. Hello. Adrian called out. No answer. He stepped further in. Then he saw a figure step out of the shadows, hoodie pulled low, voice disguised. You came alone. Who are you? The figure didn't answer directly. Instead, they placed a USB drive on the table. Everything's on here. Offshore accounts. Bank transfers. Audio recordings. Even a private voice message she sent to one of her lawyers, bragging about how she framed Amelia's father. Adrian picked it up slowly. Why are you helping me? A pause. Then a soft voice, this time undisguised. I owed Amelia. The hood came off. It was Lydia. Adrian blinked in shock. You. I sent the files to that anonymous journalist. I sent the recordings. I exposed Margaret's partner in Mauritius. I used my social media following to trigger investigations under a fake ID. I've been feeding everything to the vault. But, why? Lydia's face was pale, lips trembling. Because I was the reason Amelia broke the first time. And I couldn't watch her break again. Adrian stepped back, heart pounding. Does she know? No. Not yet. Please don't tell her. Not until I finish what I started. He stared at her for a long moment. Then nodded once. I don't know what your endgame is, he said, but if this is real, if you're serious, then you better be ready for war. Because Margaret doesn't lose quietly. She's not the only one who learned how to fight ugly, Lydia whispered. That night, Adrian returned to the hospital and found Amelia in the waiting area, her face tired but glowing faintly from the relief of knowing Tolu was stable. She stood when she saw him. You okay? She asked. Yeah, he lied. Just thinking. She leaned her head against his chest. I miss peace. We are almost there. But as they embraced, the hospital receptionist approached. Miss George. There's someone here to see you. Who? The woman hesitated. He says he's your father. Amelia froze. Adrian's arm slowly lowered. Her voice barely came out. That's impossible. But then, she turned toward the glass doors of the reception. And saw him. Older. Thinner. Beard unkempt. Eyes hollow. Her father. The man who shattered her childhood. Who disappeared with the lie. Who ruined everything. And now, he was back. I'm not here for drama,